For nearly 2 years, India's Manipur has been engulfed in turmoil. A state often overlooked has become the epicenter of a severe ethnic conflict. Recently, the central government imposed the president's rule following the resignation of Chief Minister N. Biren Singh. But what led to this escalation? Is direct central governance a genuine solution or merely a political maneuver? Tonight on Unraveled, we dissect the Manipur crisis, the origins, the violence, the political dynamics, the failures, and the uncomfortable questions that the Indian government would rather not answer. Comprehend, we must trace back to May 2023. The immediate catalyst was a directive from the Manipur Higher Court on April 2023, instructing the state government to consider the inclusion of the Meitei community in the Scheduled Tribes ST list. The Meiteis, predominantly Hindu and residing in the Imphal Valley, sought ST status to gain access to economic benefits and job reservations. Conversely, the Kuki tribes, primarily Christian inhabitants of the surrounding hill districts, perceived this potential inclusion as a threat to their land rights and cultural identity. In response, the All Tribe Students Union Manipur, ATSUM, organized a tribal solidarity march across the hill districts on May 3, 2023 to protest the Meitei demand for ST status. While the marches were initially peaceful, tensions escalated near the Tobung area in Charunachandpur district, where clashes erupted between the Meitei and Kuki communities. The violence rapidly intensified, leading to widespread arson, destruction of property, and loss of lives. Reports indicate that over 75 individuals were killed, more than 1,700 buildings, including homes and religious sites, were burned, and over 35,000 people were displaced, seeking refuge in approximately 315 relief camps. There were several underlying factors that had exacerbated the situation. For example, long-standing distrust and competition over resources between the Meitei and Kuki communities. It has periodically surfaced, leading to intermittent clashes. The Meitei community's pursuit of ST status was driven by fears of demographic and cultural dilution, while the Kuki tribes viewed the potential Meitei inclusion as an encroachment on their protected lands. The influx of refugees, on the other hand, from neighboring Myanmar, following the 2021 military coup, added to the demographic pressures, with the state government citing the presence of approximately 2,000 refugees in Manipur as of May 2023. It increased afterwards. These elements combined to create a volatile environment, culminating in the tragic events of May 2023. Now, you would think that in a democracy, when a state is on fire, the central government steps in swiftly, right? But no, for months, Prime Minister Narendramodi remained silent, seemingly hoping the crisis would resolve itself. Meanwhile, Chief Minister N. Biren Singh, a member of the Bharatiya Janata Party (BJP), faced allegations of bias towards the Meitei community and was criticized for his handling of the crisis. Despite mounting pressure from opposition groups and even allies within his coalition, Singh retained his position for nearly 2 years. Instead of leadership, there was political calculation. The BJP-led central government's reluctance to act promptly appeared to stem from its intention to maintain its influence in the northeastern region, a volatile region already. The BJP knew that if they dismissed the Biren Singh too soon, they would risk alienating their core voter base in Manipur. And so they waited, Even as mass graves were dug, even as internet blackouts were imposed to silence the victims, even as human rights organizations cried foul. This criminal dilly-dallying by the BJP government not only exacerbated the humanitarian crisis, but also eroded public trust in both state and central leadership. This wasn't just incompetence, it was deliberate neglect and a failure at every level of governance. A democratic necessity or political gimmick? Well, we'll see. On February 13, 2025, following Chief Minister Singh's resignation on February 9, the central government imposed president's rule in Manipur. This constitutional provision allows the federal government to assume direct control over a state's administration when its governance machinery collapses. While this move might seem necessary given the prolonged unrest and administrative paralysis, it raises critical questions. Number one, why did the central government wait nearly 2 years to intervene decisively? The timing post the 2024 Lok Sabha general elections suggests a strategic maneuver rather than a genuine concern for the affected populace. Two, President's rule effectively suspends the state's autonomy, sidelining elected representatives. This centralization of power can undermine federal principles and may not address the root causes of the conflict. And three, for the displaced and traumatized communities, especially the Kuki tribes who have faced significant violence, the imposition of the president's rule must be accompanied by concrete measures to ensure justice, rehabilitation, and reconciliation. While the president's rule is legally justifiable, it's also a tool that has been historically abused in India to suppress opposition led states. It does not automatically guarantee peace. It simply replaces one layer of misgovernance with another, this time led by a government that has already shown reluctance to intervene in Manipur for political reasons. If the goal is to truly restore stability, why did New Delhi wait this long? Why were thousands of people allowed to suffer before action was taken? So, how are Manipur's people responding to this? Well, it really depends on whom you ask. Among the Meitei community, there's frustration. Many believe that the president's rule is an unjust interference from Delhi, especially since the BJP government in the state had their support. There's a growing sentiment that the central government has abandoned them. The prolonged instability has also led to economic hardships and a sense of Kuki tribes. There's a sigh of relief, at least for now. After months of living under what they saw as state sponsored ethnic violence, some hope that central rule will at least bring some semblance of protection. However, they remain cautious, emphasizing the need for genuine efforts towards justice and protection of their rights. The destruction of numerous churches and displacement from their ancestral lands have deepened their grievances. And their demands go further. They want a separate administrative region, arguing that Manipur, is it, as it stands, is no longer safe for them. Groups like Amnesty International have highlighted the state's failure to protect its citizens and called for accountability. They stress that the resignation of N. Biren Singh should pave the way for upholding human rights and ending the impunity that has fueled the violence in Manipur. So there's the larger question. What happens to justice? Thousands have lost homes, hundreds have been killed, and women have suffered unspeakable violence, the gender based violence, the sexual assault, the humiliation. Will the central government now ensure accountability? Or will it all be brushed under the carpet as yet another unfortunate incident in India's troubled Northeast? What happens next? What we can expect now? Well, one thing is certain: the violence may have temporarily subsided, but the crisis is far from over. The military remains on the ground, and with the president's rule in place, there's a real risk of increased militarization and suppression of dissent. There are already concerns that laws like AFSPA, the controversial Armed Forces Special Powers Act, could be used indiscriminately, further alienating Manipur's warring community. Meanwhile, the political accountability remains elusive. Will the BJP government in Delhi ensure a fair and transparent investigation into the violence? Or will the perpetrators, many of whom are linked to the ruling establishment, be quietly shielded? And finally, let's talk about the elephant in the room: Prime Minister Modi's handling of the crisis. The Manipur disaster is a stark reminder of how his government treats internal conflicts, with the deliberate silence, political expediency, and a refusal to act until absolutely necessary. Although the path forward for Manipur is fraught with challenges, the government must give immediate priority to restoring law and order, ensuring the safe return of displaced individuals to their homes. Other essential steps toward healing should be establishing independent inquiries into the violence, holding perpetrators accountable, and initiating dialogues between communities. We hope that the president's rule is a temporary measure and there is a clear plan to restore democratic governance, possibly through fresh elections, ensuring that all communities feel represented and heard. More importantly, long term solutions require addressing the underlying issues of ethnic tensions, competition over resources, and the impact of external factors such as refugee influx. If there's one lesson to take away from this, it is this: Manipur's crisis was never just about ethnicity. It was about governance, about political opportunism, about the sheer indifference of those in power. Manipur's crisis is a stark reminder of the delicate fabric of India's diverse society. The events of the past 2 years underscore the consequences of political inertia and marginalization of minority communities. The central government may control Manipur now, but will it restore justice or will it simply suppress the truth? That, my friends, is the question we must all keep asking. This is Marvi Sirmed, and you've been watching Unraveled. Until next time, stay informed, stay critical, and never stop asking the hard questions.